So let's talk about Martin for a second without Martin actually being present. Nothing really adds up with Martin, right? He has 3, which he showed me, brand spanking new American passports that haven't been touched. 3. He doesn't. He's in contact with some kind of third organization that he won't tell me about, but he has called me several times in front of me. They're not backs and they're not the police. He has many, profound gaps in his understanding that just are impossible. That just don't make sense at all. Supposedly an American citizen, but doesn't seem to have even the basic comprehension that as an American citizen, you are not above the law because you're an American citizen. That's one. The other one is he doesn't seem to have any comprehension of freedom of speech and how essential and core that is to our rights as American citizens. Every American citizen knows this. You can't grow up in America without at least having an understanding of how protected our speech is. You could even say too protected on some occasions. And apparently he was going to these criminal judges who were signing off on these criminal restraining orders to silence the woman in the house. And the police were responding and doing that. Right? This is utterly impossible and insane. And then yesterday, he really did not know that when you're Jewish, Jesus is not her Messiah. Just some guy, poor guy, some poor Jewish kid who was born and forced into some really awful role and died a horrific death. That's how we see it. And he really didn't know that Jews don't see Jesus as their Messiah. How is that possible? It's not. It's just not. But I do want to say that later, after, I clarified that for him, he was going on to ask me questions that I realized if you're an idiotic Christian, like clearly Martin is, this might, and you're completely ignorant of anything outside of your, what you've been brainwashed about in your churches. This might be a misconception that you have about Judaism, about our holy book, that Christianity just word for word has appropriated as their own and completely twisted it to fit into their framework. But I'm going to just kind of untwist some of that. So he was asking me questions, and they were valid questions. I just wasn't going to answer it because he doesn't deserve any reward whatsoever. He deserves only punishment. I do interrogate him because I think it's important that we all see what's happening to me, because I'm not a regular person, and what's happening to all of us. But I don't want to reward him with attention if I can avoid it. But the questions he was asking, well, are you just waiting, so Jews are just waiting for the Messiah to show up, and that's kind, you're just, it's not showing up, and so you're just what's going on? And so, no. Oh, and he also asked, well, isn't Jesus mentioned in the Torah that he's going to come? No. Those are all lies you've been taught as a Christian about our holy book. There is no mention of Jesus. And in fact, even the concept of a Messiah, it's there. It's in our holy book, but not much, right? It seems more like when you read it like wishful thinking from a horrifically oppressed people. People being horrifically beaten down, subjugated by the Romans, and we need some great big warrior to come and save us, and so we need a Messiah. And it's there, but it's really not a big part of Judaism. And you probably think it is because you've been taught in your churches that the whole point of Judaism was to give birth to Jesus. No, we don't really think about a Messiah. It's really not part of our faith. In fact, modern Judaism doesn't even talk about a Messiah at all. We don't think about Messiah. We're not waiting for a Messiah. We talk about the coming of the Messianic age. And this is something we talk about a lot in our temples. Tikkun Olam. And Tikkun Olam is the idea that we are each part of repairing the world. The world is broken, and all of us need to play a part in repairing the world. That's what we talk about. Communal saving ourselves, basically. We don't think about the Messiah is not a big concept, and it's stupid. I mean, it's just a way to manipulate the Christians. And so within your framework, you think Judaism is all about giving birth to Jesus. No, the Messiah is there as a concept, but kind of vaguely. And actually the same is true about quote unquote heaven. There is an acknowledgement that that the Jewish soul is eternal and that things happen after our physical death. But not much focus on that, because the point of life is to focus on life and making life right, making life just. Each of us contributing our part. They're very different religions, and like the more I look at it, and the more I understand Christianity, because I'm watching these. I've been to a lot of Christian churches recently because I'm homeless and hungry, and the Christians feed lots of times at their churches once a week. They have meals for the homeless. So I'm not saying they're all completely, everything about it is evil. Of course not. It's a mixed bag, but mostly it's evil, especially to women. What was I going to say? Shoot. Oh, just the differences between Judaism and Christianity. And it's so obvious how Christianity is there to manipulate stupid people, especially stupid men. Right? It teaches you not to think. Whereas Judaism is all about wrestling with the angel of death, wrestling with the status quo, fighting with God. And if you don't know that, that's an important story in the book that defines what a Jew is. We wrestle with God. We use our reason and our logic, and we challenge him, and that is what we are called to as the chosen ones of God in our holy book. And this whole idea of submitting to some, king of the Jews, which is kind of something that's all Christian. That's all insane. That's all meant to manipulate you. So let that go, right? We got to free ourselves, right? Especially the women. You guys, if you're a Christian woman, it's all lies. You're being told that this, fantasy figure man, and the problem is there isn't a good man in your life, because if you're a Christian man, you're not a good man. So there's this fantasy figure man is gonna take care of you and hold you and blah blah blah, and be your husband and be like everything. And it's just a fantasy meant to manipulate you. That's all it is. And they'll say whatever. They'll say whatever. I mean, I actually do have a connection to a God that's why I'm still alive. And he is a pretty good dad to me. And I'm really grateful that he has given me an example of what a good dad is. So, I know this is paradoxical, but I will say I never stop challenging this God figure that I've been in contact with. And he really answers, and he's really smart. He answers very sanely and very well. And we've built a relationship over the years based on trust and open communication. So take that as you will. But if you're a Christian and you think Judaism is about waiting for some Messiah, no, we don't even talk about messiahs. We don't believe in messiahs. It's really only briefly touched on in our holy book. And then your priests take these little brief sort of comments about a Messiah and say, oh, this is about Jesus. No. Oh, this is all Judaism. No, you're being lied to and manipulated.